My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and you're listening to Cataclysm Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.cataclysm.com. And our special guest tonight is lead singer Angelo Coppola from the band The Lows. Welcome to the show today. Angelo, how you doing?
Good, man. How about you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Now, you're based out of Detroit. I'd like to ask, what's the music scene like there these days?
Yeah, I mean, Detroit is awesome. It's been thriving for a while, and I went to and I worked at a music institution called Diamond Detroit, and that just like, you know, was the perfect example of just the, you know, talent that we have here in every different, you know, genre across the board.
Oh wow! Now I got to ask you first. I always love to ask people because I know one of the hardest things to do is come up with a name for the band. The Lows kind of gets your attention right away, kind of like, oh, I wonder how they, you know, came up with that. So could you tell us what's the story behind the band's name?
Yeah, so basically the Lows first started out just kind of as a solo project of mine.
Okay.
I went in the studio to record a bunch of tunes I had written right after one of my last bands fell apart, and so yeah, I recorded the first stuff like mostly myself, but I didn't want to put it out under my name, you know. I wanted to come up with a band name for it, and basically it came from my name is, you know, Angelo, and I was just brainstorming stuff, and I thought of like the LO, you know, apostrophe S thing or something, but there's already a band called The Laws that's pretty close, so yeah, basically that's how The Lows came from my name, Angelo.
That's great. A great way of showing ownership there. But let me ask you now. So it started out as a solo project, but has it kind of morphed into a band?
Yes. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, basically I got a really good bass player I know named Wolf to come in and do the bass tracks on the first EP.
Okay.
And then from there, he was like, you know, I'm down to play shows, dude. I'm down to be a part of this thing. So from there, I just, you know, kind of went down the list and, like, asked who I thought was the best musicians that I knew in Detroit, and pieced together a band to play the tunes. And, yeah, our lineups morphed together really well now, and we've been, you know, the same steady guys for a couple of years now. And,
so this is a group of guys that you previously knew, so it had to make it that much easier as far as having chemistry, you know, right away, as opposed to getting to know these guys that you know found through an ad or something.
Yeah, no, exactly. I've known actually Nick and Wolf since I was super young because you know, we were all just gigging in different bands, and I'm only 24, but I mean I started playing gigs when I was like, you know, 10 to 12 years old, somewhere in there with, you know, bands I put together, and been at it ever since.
Now, you know, at such a young age to get in music, like when you're into 12 years old, did you come from like a musical family? Did you just kind of always have the itch to kind of want to get into music?
Oh yeah, so my dad went to Berklee College of Music.
Oh wow!
Back in the 80s. Yeah, he's an awesome keyboardist, and got a music business degree from there. So yeah, I mean he sat me down on the kit. I started as a drummer, and he sat me down on the kit, you know, when I was like 2 years old or so, and just, you know, soon realized that I was kind of playing some rhythms, you know, and beats, so, and it just went from there. So yeah, I mean, he's a big help with the band still to this day, helping me manage it and, you know, giving me advice. And
cool. So and let me ask you about starting out on the drums. That's kind of an interesting thing because, you know, a lot of guys that end up becoming singers start out as drummers. I mean, just give you a couple names off the top of my head. Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, he started out as a drummer. Obviously, Phil Collins from Genesis, you know, he was typically a drummer, and then they needed a singer, and so he kind of, he had the best voice or whatever. So was it always kind of the same with you? Like, you were into the drums, like you said, because of the rhythm, but you kind of wanted to maybe become a singer to sing your own tunes?
Oh, totally. And I mean, yeah, my early bands, I actually like lead sang and drummed at the same time for a lot of them.
And that's not an easy task unless you're somebody like Roger Taylor from Queen or Don Henley from the Eagles. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah. And so I did that for a long time, and just heard a lot of advice. There was a lot of points where my high school, middle school band that I had together called Shockwave, like we actually had a couple, opportunities, to maybe make something happen, like, take it to the next level. And the advice I always heard is that I needed to, get from behind the kit and get up front.
Now that was going to be my next question, because even though you were kind of doing both, both duties, lead singing and playing the drums, you kind of are, playing behind the drum kit. You got your drumsticks in here. That's kind of like your little security blanket. So talk about the first time you stepped out from behind the drums and your center stage, your lead singer, in the front of the stage. What was that like for you, that transition?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it felt really right, and it felt, we practiced a good amount before our first show, so I could get a little acclimated, but then once the first show happened, I was just, I felt like I had all this pent-up energy sitting behind the kit.
I found my place, found my place in the band.
So, and I'm very, very energetic on stage. I do a lot of jumping and just around. And
I'll tell you this, not having ever met you face to face, just talking over the phone right now, your voice is very energetic. So you got that going for you, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was curious. So like, I often talk to people that are musicians like yourself, and they play more than one instrument. And I would think too, starting out as a drummer, maybe. First of all, when you guys are in the studio recording, it gives you more of an understanding, like, of how the drummer's doing his thing, and you're maybe checking him out a little more and seeing what he's all about.
Oh, totally, yep. And I mean, I still, play every now and again. I play, obviously before the pandemic happened, I was playing a ton of cover shows still on drums.
Yeah.
So I keep my chops up, but I mean, I got a passion for songwriting too, and so I picked up a guitar. I probably didn't really start learning guitar until maybe like 2014, like 6 years or so, and just immediately started writing tunes.
And I'll tell you, I gotta be honest with you, Angelo. Discovering your band is kind of a fun little thing for me, because a lot of ways I discover new bands, of course, is getting doing these interviews and stuff. And when your publicist sent me like a download to check out the album, I was really impressed with what I heard. I haven't had a chance to hear the whole thing, but one of the songs I've heard that really kind of jumps out at me is the song "Love Will Find a Way."
Yes, definitely. That's been a favorite lately for sure.
I mean, but what I love about just hearing that song is, first of all, it's a real great little pop tune, a great little like, it's ear candy. It's positive, upbeat, which is what I love, as opposed to they're going to talk about how depressed we are, and I'll tell you, again, I've heard only a couple of the songs, but based on that one song, it's like, I want to go out and buy that album. I want to check out the rest of it, It's that good.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and totally, like, our last couple singles were like, the other tune that we released around the same time is called Love Extinction, and it's kind of like almost opposing viewpoints about like, one song being about, like that there's not enough love in the world right now, and then Love Will Find a Way being, the positive of that.
And I'll have to go and check the other songs out, but I will tell you, that's kind of cool, because that's the other thing, even just based on that one song I heard, Love Will Find a Way, not only did it make me want to go check out the rest of your stuff, but like, I can tell just based on that one tune, like, you're a very gifted songwriter. See, a lot of times when I'm listening, because a lot of times when I'm listening to music, I'm not necessarily listening for a message, but I like to listen to tune and kind of not only get in a good upbeat mood, but I'm kind of like, what's the song about, and even just it's a nice little pop tune, but it's not necessarily even important to know, what's the song really about, but I get an upbeat feeling. It's a happy little tune, and like I said, I can tell, I kind of get the feeling just listening to it, okay, this is probably based on something, he went through in life.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think it's just fitting too with the, you know, timing of right now and what's going on in the world, you know, just trying to, you know, keep people optimistic about stuff because it's hard right now.
And you brought up, you know, the current lockdown situation with the Corona-19 virus and stuff. And one thing I got to give you guys credit for is not only, I mean, you're a new band, so like, of course you're going to put out new music, but a lot of bands that had scheduled releases this year have either put them on hold. I think it's cool that you guys decided, you know, we're going to go ahead and release this because even if you're not able to do any live shows maybe till next year, it kind of gives people a chance to kind of live with the music until you're able to go out there and tour.
Oh, exactly, yep. And we've been just trying to keep busy, you know, any way we can. And it's been hard because obviously as a band, we haven't really been able to get together, you know, much lately either. But just, you know, staying busy on our own terms and, you know, keeping, pushing content out there and keeping our fans satisfied even when we can't play shows around, you know, Detroit right now. But
you know, I've been seeing a lot of bands do stuff like, okay, maybe we can't, you know, go out and play live, but, you know, we'll do something on Facebook. We'll do like a live performance from our living room or something. Have you given any thought to doing something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I did actually just a solo one,
that's cool.
Maybe like a month and a half ago or something. I just, you know, did a few songs by myself in my basement and did a live stream. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely planning on regrouping as a band very soon and getting something together like that to do. Even
just like a rehearsal, so I think the fans would dig something like that, you know. And you know, I was curious. You mentioned to start out as a solo project, very much morphed into a band. Being like the lead singer and the guy that started it all, are you kind of a principal songwriter? Do you allow the other guys in the band to kind of get involved with the writing as well?
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of our older stuff, or like our, you know, first stuff we put out was predominantly me because I was, you know, just
that's what you had
doing it as a solo project at the time. But yeah, I mean, once everyone, you know, I basically record like demos
on your own
of my songs that I map out. Like I play every instrument and then I send to the guys and they make the parts their own, you know. But actually, our guitarist Nick, me and him have been kind of a writing duo lately, and
that's cool.
A lot of our newer stuff that we have like a whole nother basically EP's worth of tunes ready to go that are most of them are written by both me and Nick. And, you know, like I said, everyone in the band, you know, brings their own style to the part once, you know, we get it locked in and everything.
And it does sound like there's any rules as far as like a lot of times that bands will be like they'll kind of be afraid to go outside the box, like, no, that's not what the low sounds like. No, we don't do ballads or whatever the case may be, or no, we wouldn't even think of doing a rap tune. Is there a box, or are you guys afraid? You just kind of go in and whatever comes out comes out?
Yeah, no, that's totally how it goes with us. And I mean, even our stuff that we have on deck to record soon is like very different than, you know, our other stuff. And that's kind of like a theme with us, is like almost every song, I feel like, you know, you can tell it's the lows, but each song is like almost a different style of rock and roll.
Now, you guys are signed. I was going to ask you about your label, label name Duo Records or something like that, because I've never heard of a label. So mind talking a little bit about the label and how you got involved with them?
Yeah, no, actually, it's Dub Records, and it's actually just like pretty much our own, you know, made up label just to release stuff on. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I also during quarantine, I have a home studio, and I literally made like 2 full albums all myself. But I release them under my own name. They're on all streaming services, but just under Angelo Coppola. And yeah, so I that's what I've been working on lately. But
oh, that's kind of cool. Now, and what I like about that is, you know, who doesn't want to have a label behind them? But at the same time, oftentimes what you'll find is when you have a label behind you, you know, there's too much control. You know, and as far as the label has more control of the music than you the band actually does. And then of course, if the band's successful, there's more money going back into your pocket as opposed to, you know, some guy in a suit.
No, yeah, of course, and I definitely, I want to work, with labels to help us, push our stuff to the next level, because that's the name of the game pretty much. But yeah, so Dub Records is just, like our made up kind of name for when we want to release stuff, just because you need to put in a label in there. But
well, when I'm a little older, when I was coming up, back in the day, bands would actually release, like, put out a new record. That's what they did back then. Vinyl was big. They had cassettes and of course CDs, and bands would put out new music just so they could go out on tour. Now you don't even really need to have any a new record. A lot of bands, just that's how they make their living these days, is going on tour. And a lot of a lot of established bands, that have a catalog of music behind them, they're like, CDs aren't selling anymore. We're just going to live on our catalog of music. So again, I really dig bands like you guys, even though you're a new up and coming band, that continue to put music out there for people, because as much as I love hearing the greatest hits, I like to hear something new every once in a great while.
Of course, yep. Yeah. No, I feel that for sure.
Yeah, and so now the Lowe's is kind of your main project, but do you have any? And you said you run the studio, so I was curious. Do you produce any other acts, or you just stay focused on your own career? Do you have anything else going on besides this?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just besides during quarantine, I just basically took like all the back catalog of songs that I have had written for a while, but haven't had the time to get to, or the Lowe's haven't got to yet, and just recorded pretty much, with me playing guitar, bass, drums, doing the vocals, and so I mean that was a fun project, and I did like a couple music videos that were like, I kind of like made up like a quarantine band where it was just me dressed in different costumes as each member.
Oh wow, that's keeping it fresh, for the fans now. When you did something like that and you're dressed in all these different costumes, are people really under the impression like it's other band members, or do you kind of let them know, hey, that's me doing everything?
Yeah, like I did a little introduction video where I said Angelo Coppola as
oh, that's cool. Because you could do it. You could do it both ways. Yeah,
I mean, you can tell it's me in the costumes, but it's still like disguised,
That's
so,
cool.
It was a fun project, and I think some people got a kick out of it. So just to keep myself busy during the lockdown.
And like when you said you're doing these like online performances of older material that you haven't really had a chance to work on yet, how cool is it for you as a writer and an artist to kind of test that stuff out, like before you really do go in and record it, test the water to get people's opinions of what they think as far as that's a cool song, or I don't dig that, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, no, for sure. We do that all the time, and obviously, we haven't been able to play a show now in a couple months, but when we were trying out all of our new material on our latest shows and getting feedback on it, and it seemed like everyone had a different favorite of the new ones, so which is always a good thing. You want. So.
It kind of trips me out because, you have all this stuff going on in the world right now with the COVID-19 and the more recent events the last couple of weeks, and like here in California, I live near Los Angeles, and they're still saying here, the governor, we might not be allowing any live concert events anywhere in the state of California till next year, and I'm kind of like, well, I don't know about that, but it's also creating a challenge, I think, for bands and musicians to figure out a way to kind of go around that if they have to. I mean, I've been reading stuff online where, in Europe and even in parts of the United States, they're figuring out ways to maybe we'll have start opening up drive-ins again. We'll have a drive-in concert or something like that. And so I think it may cause people to perform, but in different ways.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, everyone's got to stay creative with it now and come up with other ways to keep their fans engaged and keep people interested, because.
And then I kind of do. It's interesting too when these politicians they get to decide what is an essential worker. That to me, being a musician, I'm not a musician, but for people that are, that's just as important a way to make a living, because not only you guys need to make a living, but also if all we do is stay locked up in our house, we never get to be entertained in any way, people are going to start going nuts,
No, exactly. Yep, and I mean, yeah, I'm hoping it'll be back, to normal soon. I don't see us, really probably playing a show this year either, unless it's some kind of outdoor event. I know that that's allowed again in Michigan apparently, but the rules are all confusing up here.
Yeah, let me ask you, Angelo, because talking a little bit about your band and your music. And I mentioned I'm an old school guy. I still like to at least have a physical CD or something. I love to look at the photos and who played on the album, who wrote it, and all that. It's something I really miss. A lot of people these days don't even know what's a record store. But the next question I was going to ask you. So as far as your music, can people get it? Can they get physical copies and digital copies, or and what are your feelings on that?
I mean, I'm a big vinyl and CD fan too.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
But I mean, the convenience of Apple Music is just too much for me to deny. I'm just a complete fiend for learning new music and new bands and new artists and just listening to as much as I can. So Apple, streaming is good for that, but I still definitely, I buy vinyls all the time. I got a good collection going with my dad.
What's kind of funny about that is vinyl for about a 10-year period, they stopped making vinyl, and it's in the last couple of years, about the last 5 years, been making quite a comeback. And I've been talking to people, and they tell me, I don't even have a turntable, kind of like what you're telling. I don't have a turntable to play it on, but I just get the stuff for like the collector's value, and I think that's kind of an interesting way of looking at it. But that's a cool aspect, about it.
Totally, and we don't actually have the low stuff on vinyl as of now.
But maybe down the line,
maybe soon. Yeah, but we have physical copies of all of our catalog that you can buy on our website. Keep it on thelowest.com under our store, and all of our stuff's on all the streamings, and like I said, my new albums I put out, which are called the Quarantine Sessions under my name.
Oh, cool.
I didn't get physical copies of those yet, but maybe down the line. It's just hard when you're not playing shows.
Well,
that's where we would sell our
something like that. I'll tell you. You could even do when you do start playing live again, make up free promo material like your quarantine sessions to give out to people maybe when they come to a show or something. But I'll tell you, years ago I went to see the band Tesla in concert, and they released like a 2-volume cover CD of doing other people's music, and they said, okay, you can go to Best Buy and you can get Volume 1, but if you want Volume 2, you have to come to the concert and see the band live. And as you're coming into the concert, we'll hand you out the CD. It was a pretty cool thing. And, I went not just because I liked the band, but I want the second part of the CD. I'm going to go when they come to town. And it worked, Yeah. And it's
definitely.
And even getting back to the vinyl, I know as far as getting your stuff printed on vinyl, that does cost a little bit of money. But, you could even do a thing, like I said, for a collector's value to make it more of a collector's item. Say, hey, look, we're going to do a limited run. If you want one, this is where you got to send it to, send your dough to, And
totally. And we have a lot of pretty diehard fans, at least in Michigan, that go out of their way to make sure they have every merch or item that we put out. So
But before we wrap this up, I don't want to end the interview without asking, because we talked a lot about the band and the album, which I'm hoping to hear more of. But let me ask you, as far as growing up in Detroit, and who are your musical heroes? The bands and the musicians that, obviously your dad, because you said he was a musician. But as far as bands you grew up on and that.
Like I said, I was playing shows from very young, and obviously, as I've gotten older, just learning the history of Detroit music and all the amazing, artists that have come out of here. I love Motown. I love Iggy and the Stooges. The Lows do a tune of theirs, and the Lows cover "Kick Out the Jams" also. And
I would love to hear that, because just haven't heard the one song so far. Love Will Find a Way. I mean, I listened to that. I couldn't really imagine the guy singing that being like influenced by punk. But see, that's why I asked that. That's the cool thing because lately I've been interviewing people too about talking about some of their favorite bands and album. Where they'll tell me, like one dude that plays in a Rolling Stones tribute. I recently interviewed him, and you naturally think we're going to be talking about Rolling Stones music, but we kind of went outside the box, and he talked to me about this great classic rock artist named Edgar Winter. And he's a guy that sings free ride, but I found out there's much more to Edgar Winter than just free ride, and that's the cool thing about ask people about who did you grow up on? Who did you grow up on? And okay, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Totally. And I mean, I have influences all across the board for sure. I love just about every genre of music I dig and I can appreciate. And I mean, I'm a huge grunge guy. That probably comes out in our tunes more than anything. And we get kind of lumped in with that sometimes. But I mean, that's totally like all my favorite bands growing up, and Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, really changed my life in high school, and what is pretty much the reason I started writing songs.
And so let me ask you, like, being that you were influenced by Nirvana and that, talk a little bit about the effect that had, when you heard the news that Kurt Cobain had, done what he done and taken his own life.
I mean, I'm only 24, so I was not alive.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I'm okay. Yeah, it makes sense. But I guess even not the fact that you weren't alive then, but you still got turned on to his music. Talk a little bit about that because that's kind of interesting. Because So who turned you on to Nirvana? Was it your dad?
Basically. Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, my dad always just tried to show me as much music as he could growing up, and I vividly remember, listening to Nevermind as a kid, but it really clicked, I think, when I just saw the performance of theirs. It's called Live at the Paramount.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's on, like, Halloween night, 1991, I want to say, and I think it was, like, sort of the album release party for Nevermind that they filmed in literally, like, full film quality. Yeah. And I just watched that concert and just was mesmerized by the fucking, whole performance.
Yeah, I can tell you, I was alive when Nirvana hit, and the interesting thing about Nirvana and that whole grunge scene, it's kind of interesting that you got into kind of after effect, you kind of discovered it, but like just I can tell you somebody was around at the time when Nirvana hit. They were everybody talking about Kurt Cobain, what a great songwriter and all that, and how gifted the band was. And when they took off, then it was Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains. These are kind of the grunge bands that kind of rose to the cream of the crop. And then like all the hair bands and the popular bands at the time that were doing really great, even Motley Crue and that, they stopped selling. The record company started to drop some of these bands that have been around for years. They're like, we're going to do nothing but go out and sign grunge bands. That lasted for about 10 years. And it's kind of interesting. Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, all these bands that made it at that time, and for the big grunge bands, all the singers eventually kind of in one way or another committed suicide. And it's kind of interesting. And then I remember back in the day when I heard that, Kurt Cobain had taken his life, MTV, they had music television, if you know what that was back in the day, where they actually played music videos.
Oh, yeah.
And it got...
only by stories. I wish it was still music television.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny what... MTV is still around. It's really funny what it has turned into. I mean, I don't even go on anymore, but the last time I did, they don't even play even a single music hour. It's all reality TV. Yep. It's a joke, but... It
really is.
But it's really funny. But I can tell you, like, and it's kind of funny. Nirvana, as great as they were, I got to ask you, how much of a fan are you of Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters?
I'm a huge fan, and I mean he's keeping rock and roll alive. Like he's the face. He's been the face of rock and roll now. I feel like for the past 20 years. I can see why a guy like you would kind of look up to somebody like that because, okay, again, here's a guy that started out on the drums, and he was a pretty decent drummer, and then. And then when Kurt Cobain killed himself, he's got to kind of figure out, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And who knew the drummer from Nirvana?
was such a great lead singer that could play the guitar and all that. So and you know, he's just as successful as he was in Nirvana. I mean, that's one dude that's been able to carry on, you know, carry the torch.
Oh yeah, one hell of a songwriter himself, and I mean, I even heard the story in the Foo Fighters documentary that he, got asked to be the drummer of Tom Petty in the Heartbreakers, and he had a big, decision, and ultimately decided I want to write my own songs,
See, there's a guy too, but very much like you, his influences are all over the place. I mean, you listen to the Foo Fighters, it's a little more pop than Nirvana was. Nirvana was a little bit of everything, but but again, he's not just living off his Nirvana fan base. I mean, that's a huge part of people that follow him, but he's also created a all new fan base just based on what he does with the Foo Fighters, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yep, and non-stop hits. Just, it's all about the songs, you know?
And see, that's the whole thing to me. If you're going to have any kind of successful, like I was mentioning, like, just listen to your one song, Love Will Find a Way, I'm like, oh, this guy's a great songwriter, whoever wrote this song. It tells a great story. And see, that's the thing. That's why a lot of these bands have been able to be around 30, 40 years. It's because they got the songs. I mean, you take a band like Aerosmith. Okay, don't tell me Steven Tyler and Joe Perry can't write a song, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And they've done it more than one decade. They've done like 5 decades. They've been around 50 years now. It's because, if you were just like a group of five great-looking guys and that's all you had, you wouldn't be able to last for 50 years, you know? You got to have the song. Yeah. And
and there's some bands that don't get that, some some artists that are about, the looks, but we try to write a good song. That's what it's all about to me.
And if you can have all the required ingredients, that's great, but what I look for when I listen to something is, the music, the song, it's got to have some, depth to it.
Yes, definitely.
And
I appreciate that.
Let me ask you, Angelo, before we wrap this up, is there anything else you'd like to let the people know before we say goodbye?
I'm sorry, I lost you there for a second.
Well, before we say goodbye, is there anything else you'd like to say to the people listening to this?
Thanks for having me on the show. It's been awesome. Keep your eye out for the lows. We're going to be, working hard, putting out new music hopefully very soon. Yeah. And follow us on social media to stay updated. Hopefully we'll get back at playing some shows soon. We had to cancel some, really cool shows because of the pandemic, and including one with Candlebox, and hopefully, we'll back at it sooner than later.
In Candlebox, before we say goodbye, I just gotta say I'm not a huge Candlebox fan, but I will say this: they're on a great little label that I think you guys are associated with, Pavement Entertainment, and the cool thing about Candlebox is they're one of those bands. When alternative bands and grunge started to be not so popular in the mid-'90s, they went away for a little bit. But then, thanks to Pavement, a few years ago, they signed Candlebox. And they came back bigger than ever.
Yep, totally, and just still absolutely killer live.
And you guys have done some.
Dudes.
You guys have done some shows with them. Is that correct?
Yeah. We actually probably my favorite show I've ever played in my life was with them at the Fillmore in Detroit.
Oh wow!
And that was just, I've seen so many amazing shows at the Fillmore, and so it was a dream come true to play there, let alone with legends like Candlebox. Oh,
that's cool. And then I will just say this about the label Pavement Entertainment is what I dig about the label is. It's owned and started by this guy Tim King, who's a bass player for this metal band Soil, and so you would think a guy like that would sign nothing but metal acts, but they've got everything from rap and alternative to metal and even pop stuff. So I dig that they got such a vast array of artists on that label.
Oh, totally, and Tim's an awesome dude, very smart, and been around, the game for a while now, and Soil's an awesome band, and it's done some awesome stuff, so, it's an honor to be working with those guys, for sure.
And what I dig about a label like that is the fact that it's not just a label started up by some rich businessman who wants to make a fast buck in the music industry. it's owned and started up by a guy that's an actual musician himself. He's lived the life, so these people he signed his label maybe can give you some suggestions to say, hey, I've been doing this for this, I'll take a chance with you guys. So I think it's great that you have an actual label run by a guy that's an actual musician.
Oh, I agree completely, definitely.
And so, as far as recording, Angelo, you recorded this all in your home studio, correct?
I'm sorry, I lost you for a second there.
Final question there. As far as the album that's just been released recently, This Is the Lows. You recorded that all in your home studio, correct?
No, actually, we did the Lowe's stuff at Pearl Sound Studios, which is in Canton, Michigan, with the producer Chuck Alkazian, who's worked on a lot of big band stuff. He's worked with Pop Evil and Tantric's most recent stuff, who's also, on Pavement. So yeah, we did that stuff with him. Our next stuff, I'm not too sure yet what we're gonna do. I got a few different studios that I really like and producers that I'd like to work with, but yeah, I mean, the new albums that I put out during the quarantine under my name were at my home studio, and I mean, I feel like we got them to sound pretty dang good, and so, down the road, we're definitely going to experiment with self-recording and self-producing. So, as far as the quarantine sessions that you're talking about, where could people get a hold of that if they wanted to? What collection?
No, the quarantine things you said you just...
Oh, yeah, the quarantine sessions, those are just on all streaming services as of now. Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud. I mean, physical copies could eventually be a thing. I know the Lows are probably planning on, playing a few of those tunes that are on those albums live, and bringing them into our catalog.
Oh, that would be a cool thing.
So, yeah.
Well, Angelo, thanks so much for taking time talking to me. I really appreciate it. Maybe in the future, once I get a chance to hear the entire album, we can do it again and talk specifically about some of the other songs on there as well.
Yes, definitely, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, take care, my friend.